This is Julio's Corner, my corner of the internet where I talk about whatever is on my mind. It's usually media that I've watched, read, or listened to. In this episode, we're going to talk about week 1 of the World Cup. This episode is being recorded on Friday, June 19th, 2026. And welcome back to the show. Once again, I am your host, Julio from New York, Julio de Nueva York. And we are going to talk about week 1 of FIFA World Cup 2026. I'm recording it early. It may not drop until Sunday, but we'll see. Because I just finished week 1 because the last group played, and it's circling back. So now game 2 of Group A happened Thursday night, which I have not seen. And so I figured, let me record this now before I get corrupted with extra information. So I just stick with the week 1 wrap up. So let me preface by saying, I am by no means an expert. I've never played the beautiful game of football. I am speaking from a lack of knowledge. My knowledge comes from the World Cups that I've seen, the Copa Americas that I've seen, and the Euro Cups that I've seen. I do not watch Premier League. I did watch it a few seasons ago because I saw this Manchester City documentary on Amazon Prime. So it got me a little excited about it. Also because Messi joined MLS. I saw the first 2 seasons, most of the first 2 seasons of MLS. However, the problem with professional football leagues is that unlike NFL football that has a 17-week season, these leagues go for like 30-something games or so. Again, I'm no expert, so I'm not bragging my ignorance and my lack of knowledge. But yeah, I did not research it, but I believe it's like 20 to 30 something games. It's more than 17 from the NFL. And frankly, I liked the NFL back when it was 16 games a season, but now they're actually trying to make it 18. Anyway, my point is I only have so much limited bandwidth to watch a sport. And so that is why I like the Euro Cup, the World Cup, and La Copa America. These are tournaments, these are international tournaments that happen once every 4 years. When it does come around, it occupies a 4 to 5 week span of bandwidth. And then poof, it's gone for another 4 years. The last World Cup was amazing. Argentina won. And based on that information of the Argentinian team, I believe they are still a contender. They're obviously 4 years older. However, and I will go into it, Messi is still showing prowess on the pitch, as they like to call it. I saw the Euro Cup, which was 2 years ago, so Spain was a favorite. However, Lamine Yamal is injured, so he's not starting. At least he did not start game 1, and that is a concern because they ended up, well, I'll get into it. And of course, Copa America. Argentina won that as well after winning the World Cup, and Colombia was promising, but they were kind of weird in their recent game. So anyways, this is what we're going with. My knowledge is based mostly on intuition and my eye test from what I've gathered watching those tournaments. Now I am giving myself some supplementary opinions and information from punditries from the likes of podcasts such as ESPN FC, which is, I guess, the ESPN show about football. The podcast, The Rest is Football, with Micah Richards and 2 other guys, very well-known English or British footballers from days of yore. And, of course, After the Whistle, which has Brendan Hunt and this female who is currently one of the co-hosts of the Fox broadcast of the World Cup, which I don't see. I watch it on Telemundo because Telemundo, Spanish sportcasters in general are much more exciting and fun to listen to while watching the World Cup, the beautiful game. And apparently, during the hydration break, Fox, in their capitalism runs this world way, uses that time for commercial breaks. Telemundo does not play commercials during the hydration breaks that they've added to the World Cup. See, that was the other beauty of the beautiful game, is that it was a non-stop 45-minute half, halves. The first half is 45 minutes, the second half is 45 minutes. There might be some extra time allotted at the end of each half because of like fouls and what have you that delayed the game in the meantime, because there's no timeouts in football. Football just is ongoing, and that was one of the division, the deferring factor of this game versus any other sport that has timeouts and constant stops and things like that. This was all stamina. It's just 45 minutes nonstop, 45 minutes nonstop, a halftime break, and of course, and the extra time that they would put in after the 45 minutes went up. Usually like 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how many fouls and yellow cards and whatever happens during that 45-minute allotment. However, now they added this rule of a 3-minute hydration break in both halves. So that is kind of now blurring the lines. That was a point of pride that this game had in comparison to all the other games. Anyways, moving on. That's just a bit of minutia for you. So let's get on with the breakdown of week one. So the first game, the game opener of the World Cup was Mexico with South Africa. Mexico is one of my favorite teams. As I said in the past, I go for Colombia, which is, I'm Colombian American, so obviously that is one of the countries I root for, and Mexico, because I have a kingship to it. I said this in the last episode, and I am sticking with that as I always do in every World Cup that I watch, or Copa America. Anyways, as I was saying, Mexico opened the World Cup against South Africa, and they won 2-0. It was a fun game. Mexico was pretty sharp. They obviously have some fine-tuning they need to do, because they were only able to muster 2 goals against South Africa, which wasn't a strong team, I would say. I mean, because they couldn't really affect Mexico that much in counter-strikes. But despite that, they were able to at least keep the scoring down to just 2 goals, because Mexico wasn't as proficient. Next came South Korea against Czechia. They won 2-1. So that was a good game to watch. South Korea is of the Asian teams, that's the one that I usually like to see, because it used to be Japan when Japan and Korea hosted the World Cup. I think that was 8 years ago, so that was 2 or maybe 12 years ago. It was a long time ago. My first time seeing Korea, South Korea, and Japan. I think China was in that one too, in the World Cup. And they were fun upstarts, but they have since gotten better. But between South Korea and Japan, I've always thought South Korea was a stronger team, national team. And in this case, they shown no problem winning their game against Czechia. It was 2-1. They still managed to let Czechia score 1. Czechia, they showed some fight, but South Korea still dominated them. Then the U.S. game was the next one that I saw. And again, not all of these are in the same order, are in the right chronological order. These are the games in the order that I saw them, because unlike normal daytime people, I'm asleep during most of the games, so I record them and then I download them to my computer and I watch them depending on preference. And some I just watch. I decide to forego over highlights. These were not those games. These I saw them in their entirety. So U.S. Paraguay was a fun game, surprising game. U.S. dominated Paraguay 4-1. Paraguay was relatively strong, I remember, in Copa America. Them and Uruguay were, and by strong, I mean they had good defenses. They weren't good at scoring. Well, Uruguay was. Uruguay was a bit of a scorer. Paraguay, not so much, but they had a good defense. That being said, though, U.S. dominated them and won the game 4-1. So Paraguay managed a goal against them, which shows that there are some weaknesses in their defense. However, the fact that they scored 4 goals, this is the most dominant U.S. team I've ever seen in the World Cup. So power to them. They're showing promise. A lot of Americans are surprised by it. Everyone is rather surprised by it. Even the pundits that I'm listening to are expressing their pleasant surprise by the U.S. national team. Moving on, the Canada game I did not watch. They never are fun to watch. I remember that in Copa America, especially when they ended, like, I think that it was a tie against the U.S. and Canada, which again is why I didn't expect U.S. to be so dominant. Anyways, Canada only got a 1-1 tie against Bosnia. So I don't see much promise in Canada going far. Bosnia, I mean, I don't think I've ever really seen them do well either, generally speaking. Like offensively, they're not much of a power horse. Defensively, they're hit or miss. In this case, they managed to at least get a tie, so they got a point for that game. Then you have Brazil against Morocco. Now, Brazil has been weak for the last 5 or 6 World Cups. They haven't been really that dominant. Even the Copa America, they haven't really been that great. They've been better than Colombia at least, or at least sometimes the referees would call in their favor, which would give them the edge and give them the win against Colombia. Argentina has been the powerhouse in South America, and that's proving the point this time around as well, as Brazil only managed a 1-1 tie against Morocco. It was not a fun game if you were a fan of Brazilian football, the way they played back when they were dominating back in the 90s. Germany destroyed Curaçao. They bloodied them. It was a 7-1 domination. Apparently, no one was surprised by this. I did not expect a 7-1 blowout, but I mean, Curaçao, I think this is like their first time in the World Cup in forever or ever. So yeah, I mean, you don't expect much from them, but still, 7-1 was just youch. Australia beat Turkey. Now that was a shocker because Turkey was actually really good in the Euro Cup. So seeing them get dominated by Australia the way they did, which actually no, see that's the misnomer. Turkey actually dominated possession of the ball. They had it for most of the time, but they just were not able to capitalize on their opportunities. They weren't able to make their possessions give them good ability to good finishing opportunities to score. Instead, Australia, the few times that they got possession on the other side of the pitch, they capitalized and scored, and they managed to get 2 against Turkey. So sadly, Turkey is in the hole, and Australia is up 3 points in their group. Spain against Cape Verde. Now, like I said, Spain won the Euro Cup. The last Euro Cup, they beat France. So, and they were a fun team to watch in the Euros. So I was expecting more of the same. I did not know about Lamine Yamal being injured, but he is. And apparently the other striker that was dominant in the Spain's in the Spanish team that helped win the Euro Cup also did not start in this game against Cape Verde. So either A, they overestimated Cape Verde, or B, they just were being cautious because these guys needed to heal, and their team is not strong enough without those guys to win. because Cape Verde, which is also a relatively new team, I think this might be they haven't been in either this is their first time or they haven't been there in forever. With a 40-year-old goalie, were able to eke out a tie, a 0-0 tie. They did not let Spain score against them. Spain had most of the possessions. They kept hitting and hitting and striking. And that goalie, that 40-year-old goalie, just if he wasn't blocking it, his defenders helped along the way. And it was just a masterclass in defense. They had no offense to speak of, but it didn't matter. They got a 0-0 tie, so they still have a fighting chance to advance, depending on the rest of the group. Spain is embarrassed, of course, by this. Hopefully, Lamine Yamal will be able to play. He did come in the final 20 minutes of the game, but I mean that was too little, too late, and it wasn't enough. And final 20 something minutes. I forget how many exactly, but about 20 minutes, give or take. But it wasn't enough time for him to help change the tide and at least give him one goal to win. Now, let's see what's next. The Scotland-Haiti game I did not watch. Scotland in general is usually not a fun watch. They're not good at scoring. They may be good at defense, but it's usually an ugly game. And of course, Haiti. I mean, I didn't have much hopes, and the game ended in a 1-0 win. So yeah, Haiti has 3 points. Sorry, Scotland has 3 points. Haiti has 0. They're probably going to get eliminated after their next game. They're going to be, what's the word? I'm looking. They're not going to advance. Basically, they're pretty much dead on arrival. There's another term I'm trying to think of, but I can't. Let's see. Belgium, Egypt. I did not watch that game. No, Belgium, Egypt. I just saw the highlights of that game, and I expected a little more from Belgium, but they're not that good. Lukaku is older, and he's not 100%. So he did come in at the late stages of the game to help tie it. They were down 1-0, but then Lukaku came in and immediately scored the tying goal. So based on these results, they're probably not going to advance. If they do advance, they're going to get eliminated immediately in the next stage because they're not a strong enough team. Qatar tied against Switzerland, which I think was surprising. I expected Switzerland to be a little better than Qatar, at least have the edge on them. But they managed a 1-1 tie. So Qatar saved themselves from having no points this game one, and they got a tie. So the Swiss are in trouble. Then came the day that the scoring was immaculate. I don't know. I believe this was Wednesday. You had France against Senegal. You had Norway against Iraq. You had Argentina against Algeria. France dominated and won against Senegal 3-1. Mbappe got 2 beautiful goals. And that's called a brace. When you get 2 goals, when the person scores 2 goals in a game, it's called a brace. So Mbappe got 2, and France won 3-1. It was a fun game to watch. Then you have Norway versus Iraq. Norway has not been in the World Cup in a while. This is Erling Haaland's first time in the World Cup, first time on the international stage. He is a well-known striker for Manchester City. As I mentioned, I did watch or try to watch a season of Premier League because of Manchester City documentary, so I was familiar with Erling Haaland. He's one of the new guys, the new generation of footballers to look out for. Not once Messi and Ronaldo are completely out of the picture right now. Obviously, they're in this World Cup. They're 6 to date. I think they're the only ones to play in 6 World Cups. So they're still in the public eye. So once they go, Mbappe and Haaland are supposed to be the next generation. So this is Holland's first trip to the World Cup. I think Mbappe has done three. He won. Yeah, he won his rookie year. They lost to Argentina. Yeah, they lost to Argentina the last cup, and this is his third. I believe that's correct. So anyway, Norway versus Iraq, and they dominate with a 4-1 victory. Holland also gets a brace. He gets two goals. The first goal was fun. The second goal was kind of funny if you see the highlights because it looks like he intimidated the goalie to score that goal. So basically, one of the defenders had the ball towards the back end of the back of the field of the pitch, their side of the pitch, and Holland decides to go after him, to charge him. And that defender's like, holy crap. And he passes the ball behind him to the goalie who wasn't expecting it. He was expecting, because he gave the ball to that defender. And then Holland decides to go towards the defender. And usually, so the goalie did not expect the pass back to him. He expected the defender to send it further up the pitch. He didn't. He felt intimidated by Holland. He sent it backwards, not even a fast one. It was sort of like a slow pass back to the goalie, which Holland then charged toward the goalie. He got there in time. He tapped the ball. The goalie then kicked it, but the ball bounced right back to his shin, and he just further popped it back into the net for his second goal, and then just charged to the side. So it was quite a sight to see, seeing this tall Nordic blonde guy charging this poor Iraqi and intimidating him into getting the goal. And then they got two more goals after that. So the game ended in a 4-1 beating by the Norwegians, the Vikings. And then, of course, you have Argentina versus Algeria, and Messi gets his first ever World Cup hat trick. Lionel Messi looked at these two braces and said, hold my beer. I'm still the GOAT. I'm still the cock of the walk. I'm still the guy. I'm still the defending World Cup champion. Let me do my first ever hat trick in the World Cup. 20 years ago, he scored his first goal in the World Cup. And 20 years later, he does a hat trick, which ties him for the most World Cup goals with this German guy, Klose. I don't know the first name. So now Messi, and this is only game one. Game one of the World Cup, he ties for the most goals in the World Cup with Klose, doing his first ever World Cup hat trick. So he had quite a night. And Holland on his Snapchat or whatever wrote, Messi is a maniac, because he's in awe. He's like, what the hell? This guy, he's still doing it at the ripe old age of 38. So that happened. Thursday was you had England versus Croatia, which was a fun game. You had Portugal against Congo and some other team. So everyone was like, okay, all right, Ronaldo. There's always the comparison between Messi and Ronaldo, mostly by, like the LeBron fans are always like, LeBron is the GOAT over MJ, even though everyone knows it's really Michael Jordan. He's the GOAT. But the LeBron fans will never let it die out. They're going to keep the debate alive. Well, similarly, the Cristiano Ronaldo fan base, in the same manner, keeps this debate alive about Ronaldo is the GOAT to Messi. But he has been on a downturn, and he hasn't scored in the World Cup outside of I forget the number, but he's been scoreless in like the last quite a chunk of games. He hasn't been able to score. Definitely not past the knockout rounds. But he's never scored in the knockout rounds, and it's been quite a while since he scored in the opening rounds, in the current rounds that are happening right now. And no different, he was scoreless on Thursday. So, anyways, before we go to that though, Iran had a 2-2 tie against New Zealand, which I feel bad for Iran because they have to train in, even though their games are set in the U.S. because of the whole Iran U.S. situation. The Iranian national team are not allowed to stay on U.S. soil because that's what the Trump administration is doing. They have to go to Tijuana, Mexico, to train over there, then take a plane the day of their match is when they can take their plane to the U.S. for their game, and then immediately take a flight back out. So, or actually take a bus ride to the game. So 6 hour bus ride from Tijuana, Mexico to, in this case, Los Angeles for their game against, who was it again? I just said it, against New Zealand. And then immediately after the game, they have to take a flight back to Mexico. So despite all that, and being exhausted, because everyone else gets to train here where the games are, be at the location 2 days in advance to be rested and be well prepared and all that good stuff. Iran doesn't have that benefit. They have to come the day of their game, and on after a 6 hour commute, start a game. Maybe they can come a few hours early, but that's it. That's the only leeway they get. Maybe they get here 2 hours before kickoff so they can go to their locker room and get a little refreshed or whatever, or stretch their legs from that long 6 hour bus ride and then play their game. Like, that's ridiculous. But despite all of that, despite all of those obstacles and hurdles that they went through, they still managed a 2-2 draw against New Zealand, which I don't think New Zealand is a strong team. But with all that fatigue that they went through, and that mental struggle, I mean, the mental hurdles and whatnot, they still managed a 2-2 tie. So I believe they could have been better. They could have won that game if they were in their best form. But they're not allowed to be in their best form because the U.S. won't allow them, which is bullshit. I think their game should be in Mexico. If that's where they're stationed, then they should have their game scheduled in Mexico, because Mexico's not giving any countries favorable treatment the way the U.S. is. The U.S. is doing this to a lot of countries of color. Like, there's some African teams that are going through getting stopped and frisk. Even Uruguay had to have like drug sniffing dogs or something go through their luggage before they could enter their premises. It's just ridiculous that the type of bigotry that is being enacted during this tournament that's supposed to be about global unity, global inclusivity. It's the World Cup. It's supposed to be the thing where the world gathers together in this competition, this friendly competition, and we our cultures are supposed to merge and blah blah blah. That's the PR spin on the World Cup, as well as the Olympics and whatnot. But nope, not during the time of the orange-faced president. Moving on. Cote d'Ivoire, or the Ivory Coast, beat Ecuador 1-0. I'm not too surprised. Ecuador has never been a strong team. Cote d'Ivoire is okay. They're one of the hit or miss African teams that I'm sort of familiar with. It's usually them, Ghana, and what other African team? Morocco is usually up there. Senegal actually is up there. So yeah, I'm not surprised they beat Ecuador 1-0, but it was only 1-0. So I don't know who they play next, but it will definitely be more challenging for them from this point forward. Now, Austria versus Jordan, I didn't watch. I don't know much about Jordan, and I don't know much about Austria. Austria didn't really wow me during the Euro Cup, so I didn't. It's just not a country I'm looking to as a dark horse or a favorite or anything. So I didn't care. And again, Jordan is an unknown to me. I don't think they did well in the last World Cup, so I didn't watch it. And turns out it was a 3-1 game. So at the very least, Austria dominated. So they did themselves a favor by getting those 3 points. And then you got Saudi Arabia They somehow managed a 1-1 tie with Uruguay, which I was surprised by. I expected Uruguay to be one of the better Latin American countries in this World Cup because of the Copa America. They were pretty good. Mexico was good. Colombia was good. And of course, Argentina. Brazil, I expected Uruguay to be better than Brazil. I think Uruguay beat Brazil in the Copa America, if I'm not remembering incorrectly. So yeah, I was shocked to see that they got a 1-1 tie with Uruguay. But then again, Brazil managed a 1-1 tie with Morocco. Though I think Morocco or whatever you want to call it, Morocco is a better team than Saudi Arabia. So we'll see. Now, Portugal versus Congo, as I mentioned. Cristiano Ronaldo, the day after Messi got a hat trick, all eyes were on Portugal. They were supposed to be a contender. They were supposed to be a contender in the Euro Cup. And the specter that is Cristiano Ronaldo has been weighing them down since the Euros, since the previous World Cup. And it is that he is taking away from the team and not doing them any favors because he's not the same guy. But he sucks up all the oxygen. He wants the ball and he can't score. He just doesn't have that ability anymore. And it was no different against the Congo. They ended in a 1-1 tie. He did not score a goal. Some other player from Portugal scored. And there was another possible goal scoring opportunity that could have happened. The ball was supposed to go to this other guy, but Ronaldo cut in, got in the way, and missed the kick. His kick went off or whatever, and they didn't score. Then you have England against Croatia. Same day, Thursday. That was a fun game. Like the U.S., the English team surprised me. I did not expect a 4-2 thrashing of Croatia. In the last World Cup, Croatia dominated England. And I think in the Euro Cup, Croatia beat England. So, or at least they struggled. I don't remember it too well. But the point is, I mean, Croatia's a much older team. England did change up some of the players, so there's some younger and some older. It's a nice mix of Brits, but Croatia is definitely older. They're definitely 4 years older from the last Cup and 2 years older from the last Euro. And England, had their revenge game and dominated 4-2 to put their stamp on it. Harry Kane, the other guy that eyes were on, got a brace. So him, Mbappe, and Haaland, the current strikers of the professional FIFA games, all got their braces for the world to see. Messi, who's in MLS, not much is expected from him. They're all expecting him to be like Ronaldo, not scoring anything, and he got a hat trick. So this is just further maligning the whole Ronaldo conversation, and it's just what all the pundits are going on about. Is Ronaldo a problem? Should he come off the bench? Should he be a super? What do they call him? Not a super starter, but a super bench guy, whatever the term is I'm thinking of. This, in basketball, it would be a six man. Would he be the quote unquote six man of the Portugal team? But no, I mean, he's expected to start, or if he's going to start, which, I mean, he's Ronaldo, he's going to expect to be the starter. Should they limit his time? Because why be there the full 90 minutes? And not do anything. Instead, maybe 65, and then take him out for the last 25, and let other people play like a team is supposed to play with better chemistry to score. But anyways, that didn't happen. And then, of course, the final games of the Copa America, you have Colombia against Uzbekistan and Ghana against Panama. There might have been another game. I don't remember it. You know what? Let me look at my thing here. It was Panama. Oh no, it was just Uzbekistan and Colombia and Ghana and Panama. Those were the last games. The final group. Oh, and England. Okay. Huh. I'm confused. Well, regardless, Colombia did win 3-1 against Uzbekistan. That being said, the way they played, it was a chaotic win. There was no. They dominated the game. They had domination they had possession of the ball for the majority of the game. They so they had lots of opportunity because of their possessions, and they had gumption, but they did not have efficiency. They did not have execution. They were no set pieces to talk of. It just I was so disappointed during the game that I was watching that when they scored the first goal, I was just like, huh. It was like a surprise. It was like improv. It was ad lib. Like the goals that they scored were ad lib because you did not see it come together. It just miraculously happened. Like they were winging it, and they managed. Especially the first goal and the very final goal, which happened during the final extra minutes, the final 8 minutes that they added to the second half of the game. Those two goals, the first one and the last one, exemplified the chaoticness, the chaotic order that they played in. Because Jaime Rodriguez, who's their number 10, whatever that means. I don't know much about. Again, I'm no expert. I don't know positions and whatnot. But he's the anchor. He's the center. He's the guy. He's the point. If this was basketball, he's the point guard. He's the one that's supposed to direct the traffic. He was not directing anything. There was no order in what was going on. They did dominate the ball, but Uzbekistan eventually, occasionally would interrupt the flow. But there was no flow to be had. It was just they had the ball, and they did not know what they were doing with it. It was just weird, and yet then they scored a goal, and it was like, huh, how that happened again? It looked like an accident. Like the guy kicked it into the box area where the goal is the net, and then this other guy like happened to be in the area. He walked in there and then had like a weird kick that arced it into the net. That was the first goal. The second one I don't remember. I think the second one was actually a decent goal, but again, it was because they were fighting for the ball, and then they had the possession, and it was one of those where you had the right pass at the right time for the other guy to kick it in. Or was it? No, it was a corner kick. That's what it was. It was a corner kick that, how corner kicks go. The ball gets kicked in. There's a fighting for possession of the ball, and then sometimes you're able to use that chaos to knock it in. That's how the second goal went. Oh no, that was a yeah, no, that's exactly what it was. And then the third goal, again, final minutes. This is 90 minutes. They gave extra a time of 8 minutes, and at minute 6:31 or whatever, Uzbekistan kicked it out to the side. It was a lateral. So Colombia, brings it in. This little Colombian guy, he's bringing the ball down, but it's like haphazard. Like even Uzbekistan is like, okay, it's the final minute. It's the final minute, 40 seconds or whatever. There's no time. Nothing's really going to happen. So the defense didn't even really come down. But regardless, there was this one-on-one happening. The taller Uzbekistan guy was trying to take the ball away from the little guy, and they were fighting, and he almost knocked the Colombian guy out of bounds to the side again. But the little guy managed to kick the ball. I guess you can call it a nutmeg behind his legs. Then went around him, and then he saw this other Colombian guy running in from the left side of the field down towards the box. So he arcs the ball there, and then because the guy was just happening to run there, because again the defense wasn't paying attention. This guy runs in, kicks the goal in, deflects the ball into the net, and that was the third and final goal. It was just. I mean, I'm happy. Colombia won, of course, but it wasn't a win that inspired me. It wasn't like the U.S. Surprisingly, the U.S. win or the British win, the English win, or Argentina. Like those, after watching all those, even the Norwegian game, the Norway game, after watching Norway and Argentina and England and France and the U.S., even Mexico, the way they played inspired more confidence to me in those teams than Colombia. Colombia was just haphazard, no real structure, no real strategy, and then ad-libbing in moments of inspiration that just happened to work in their favor. So that's what happened. And then the final game, Ghana beat Panama. Did not watch it. Don't think Ghana's that strong this time around. I remember them from South Africa there when the World Cup was in South Africa, when we had the Waka Waka song by Shakira. I was a fan of their goalie, I believe. They had good defense, and they were a team that won me over for some reason or other. But they're not that strong. But Panama is definitely weaker, and Ghana managed a 1-0 win on that. I didn't watch it. I saw the highlight, and didn't inspire much to me. Anyway, moving on. So yesterday, actually, that's why there's only 2 games. That's why there's only Colombia, Uzbekistan, and Ghana and Panama. Because as Group L had their final games, Group A had, week 2 is starting. So Mexico played no, that was last night. Sheesh. Anyway, point is, the reason I'm recording this early is because week 2 is already happening. So Mexico has already played South Korea. They beat South Africa in the opener. So Mexico now played South Korea last night, and South Africa played Czechia, the 2 losing teams battling it out versus the 2 winning teams battling out for first place dominance. So I did not watch those. I don't know anything going on. I'm going to try to be as ignorant of it until I'm done with this recording. So anyway, as I mentioned, Mexico and South Korea lead Group A with 3 points apiece. Now, as I said, they're going to play each other for first place dominance. Whoever wins that gets 6. The other one will stay at 3 in second place, tied with whoever wins between South Korea and Czechia, unless... Did I say South Korea again? South Africa and Czechia. Unless South Africa and Czechia tie, then they're both going to be effectively gone with 1 point apiece, and Korea will be in second place with 3, and Mexico will be with 6. If Mexico and South Korea tie, then they'll have 4 points apiece, and they'll be tied for first with 4. And Czechia, whoever wins between Czechia and South Africa, well, they'll still be eliminated, effectively gone, because they're not going to beat Mexico and South Korea. Yeah. Point is, Mexico and South Korea are going to the next they're going to go to the knockout stages. Now, Group B is anyone's game. Everyone there tied. Canada, Switzerland, Bosnia and Herzegovina is one country, and Qatar. They all managed ties. So it's anyone's game. People are expecting Canada and Switzerland to come out on top, but they all tied. So that's a problem. Group C, Scotland is sitting pretty with 3 because they beat Haiti. Morocco and Brazil ended in a tie. So Morocco and Brazil are the ones that are going to be fighting for that second spot. Haiti is effectively gone with 0. Even if they win one game, as I mentioned, like Group A, they'll only have 3. Whereas whoever wins between Morocco and Brazil, they're going to have 4. And Scotland has a chance at 4 if they tie against whoever their next opponent is, or 6 if they beat their next opponent. So Scotland they have a comfortable lead. Group D, like Group A, you have USA and Australia on top. Turkey has a uphill battle if they want to survive. Paraguay, I don't think is going to make it outside of. If they lost to the US, I don't see them beating Australia. Heck, I don't see them beating Turkey. Turkey losing to Australia was a shock, if I'm being honest. So them losing to Australia was unexpected to me, especially because of the way they played in the Euros. So it's an uphill battle for them to try to get to claim the second spot, because they're gonna have to. They have to beat Paraguay for sure, and then A, manage a tie with the U.S. or beat U.S. if they can manage that, which I don't think so. I think the U.S. is actually the strongest team in that group, but it could be an upset. It could be a surprise. We'll see. Australia, I don't see them losing to Paraguay, so that's going to be 6 points for them. The U.S. though, that'll be interesting if they manage a tie. Let's say okay, so if U.S. and Australia when they play manage a tie, they'll both have four. Let's just say Turkey will have three after Paraguay. Now, in that situation, Turkey would have to beat the U.S. to get six, and Australia, even if they were to tie against Paraguay, will have what is it? That's five. So five to eke out a spot, and and then Turkey would be in first with six. But that'll be interesting to see what happens. Group E, you have Cote d'Ivoire and Germany both with three apiece. Germany killed Curacao. Cote d'Ivoire beat Ecuador. I don't see Germany losing to Ecuador. I don't see them losing to Cote d'Ivoire, if I'm being honest. So Germany, I think they're going to make it all the way. Cote d'Ivoire, same thing. I don't see them losing to Curacao. So those two are going to go advance with 6 points to the next round. I'm sure of it. Group F, we have Sweden, like Scotland. They're sitting pretty with the only win in that group. So they got three. Japan and the Netherlands. Oh, I forgot to talk about the Japan and the Netherlands. They had a 1-1 tie. No, 2-2 tie against each other. That was a fun game to watch. I expected both teams to be better, though. Ironically, even though they how did I not put that in my bullet points? I actually watched that game. Anyways, they managed a 2-2 draw. Xavi, what's his face, is not playing because of a ACL injury. So he was one of their scorers that was supposed to play for the Orange Machine, but he's out. So I didn't expect much from them. I expected Japan to do better, but Japan only got a tie. So they're both fighting for second place. Tunisia, I don't see them going anywhere. Sweden destroyed them. What was it, like 5-1 or something? Did I not say that earlier? I missed a couple of games here, didn't I? I did. I thought I wrote it down. Anyways, so Sweden, as I said, sitting pretty with their beating of Tunisia. They beat them so bad that Tunisia fired their coach, their manager. So Tunisia now has a new manager in the World Cup. And Japan and the Netherlands have one apiece, so they're both going to fight for second place. Group G, another anyone's game. Wow, there's a lot of groups that are anyone's game. So you have New Zealand, Iran, Belgium, and Egypt, all with one apiece. So it's back to the drawing board. Belgium should be the dominant one in that group. Egypt it's either so the second place spot, I think, is between Egypt and New Zealand. Mo Salah is in the Egyptian team. He's a well-known striker. He might still have some left in him. So we'll see. But Belgium, surprisingly, expected better things from them. But again, Lukaku isn't 100%. He's coming off the bench. So we'll see how that goes. Group H, another 1-1-1-1 situation. Uruguay, I expected better from. Spain, I expected better from. So both Spain and Uruguay should be the favorites in that group. But it's anyone's game right now. Cape Verde surprised everyone with their draw from Spain. Uruguay, I don't think is offensively stronger than Spain. So that's going to be weird. Or Saudi Arabia, we'll see how Spain goes against Saudi Arabia. I think Spain will end up on first place in the end, but we'll see. Group I, we have Norway and France, the two best teams. I don't see anyone with Senegal and Iraq both at 0. I just don't see. Who knows? Maybe Senegal might force a tie with Norway. We'll see. I don't think so. France, I think, is the strongest team in that group, so they're definitely going to be in first at the end of it all. Because I don't see anyone beating France. Maybe Norway, maybe getting a draw. We'll see. But Iraq, I don't see them losing to Iraq. I don't see, well, Norway and Senegal, I'm not sure. Because again, this is Norway's return after a long absence. And Holland is great. Um, that was a fun game against Iraq, so we'll see. I'm not sure how they'll fare against Senegal. We'll see. I need to see more of Norway, but it's promising. I think it's going to be Norway and France out of Group I. Then you have Group J, Argentina and Austria at the top. I think Argentina is the best team in that group, so no problems them getting to first to get into the next round. I should say Austria. I'm a little surprised, but Jordan and Algeria, they're not that strong. So Group K, Colombia is on top. They're ahead of Congo, Portugal, and Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan, because of the situation, like Tunisia and like who else was it? Haiti, they're effectively gone. They're 0 points. Congo and Portugal have one apiece. Colombia is pretty much guaranteed a spot in the next round with three, with the only win against Uzbekistan. So I think they can beat Congo, or at least tie. If they can tie against Congo and Portugal, they're gonna get five and move on to the next one. And then Portugal, if they tie with Colombia, that's two. Then they have to beat Uzbekistan for five. Then again, Congo has to do the same, right? Congo would have to beat Uzbekistan for four, and then tie with Colombia for five at the very least. So we'll see. But Colombia, regardless of the machinations of Congo and Portugal, they're gonna advance to the next round. And then of course the last group, Group L, England and Ghana both got three apiece. Panama and Croatia down 0-0. So Croatia, like Turkey, has an uphill battle. They need to find a way to win their next two if they want to make it to the next round. They might be able to beat Ghana. I'm not sure. Ghana, again, I said it was only a 1-0 win against Panama. So that's not a strong team. And Croatia managed two against England. So I can see them doing two against Ghana. Ghana maybe getting a goal. And with that, they would win that game and get their three, leaving Ghana stuck at three. And then England, I don't see England losing to Panama. So they're going to have their six to go to the next round. I mean, because then they can just tie the final game with seven and no problems. So those are my predictions for the next stage. Now, that being said, I already know that Mexico beat South Korea. Sadly, I was not able to escape that spoiler. Again, the game was last night, and something popped up on my YouTube feed or on a TV screen that I walked by or something. So I know Mexico beat South Korea, which sucks because I wanted to watch that game after the fact. So anyway, regardless, Mexico has their six. And I don't know about Czechia and South Africa, but I don't think South Korea is in danger of being eliminated, even though they lost to Mexico, because they can beat South Africa to get their six. And Czechia, I don't see Czechia beating Mexico. So yeah. So South Korea can get their six by beating South Africa, and Mexico, at the worst, might tie against Czechia, which I don't see it happening if they beat South Korea, because they beat South Africa and they beat South Korea, and I think both those countries are better than Czechia. South Korea beat Czechia, lost to Mexico. I don't see them losing to South Korea to South Africa. Does that make sense? I think Mexico and South Korea are the two strong teams of Group A, and out of the two, Mexico's number one, South Korea's number two, and they proved it by beating South Korea last night. So that's those are my predictions for week number 2. Now, whether I'll do another podcast about week 2, we shall see. But that's all I have. Wow, I said a lot. We'll see what the editing will be with this. Anyways, that's all. And that wraps up the show. If you have any questions, comments, or any thoughts you'd like to share, you can reach me via email at julioscorner.com. If you're feeling extra generous, you can click on the donate link in the show notes and send some money my way. This show is licensed under Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 International License. This means you can share this episode, remix it, do whatever you want. Just say where you got it from. And as always, thanks for listening.